ഹലോ ഹായ് വെൽക്കം ബാക്ക് ടു ട്രാവൽ എൻജോയ്. നമ്മളിപ്പോൾ എന്നുള്ളത് ഗോവയിലെ ഫെനി ഡിസ്റ്റിലറിയിലാണ്. കാസ്യൂളോ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞുള്ള ഫെനി ഡിസ്റ്റിലറിയിലാണുള്ളത്. ഇവിടെ നമുക്ക് ഫെനി ഉണ്ടാക്കുന്നത് എങ്ങനെയാണ് എല്ലാം റൗണ്ട് ചെയ്ത് കാണാനുള്ളൊരു ഫെസിലിറ്റി ഉണ്ട്. സോ നമുക്കൊന്ന് ഫുള്ളായിട്ട് കറങ്ങി നോക്കാം. ഹായ്, ഗുഡ് മോർണിംഗ്. സോറി വി ഗോട്ട് സ്റ്റക്ക് ഇൻ ദ ട്രാഫിക് 2 minutes. So what is this actually?
Yeah, I'll explain.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi. How are you? Say hi, Nichu.
Cute. What's your name?
What's
What's your name? Melissa.
Saud?
So let's get on with the session. Welcome to the Fazenda Casino, and my name is Tyson Da Costa. I'll be your host. So I'll take you through the whole distillation process and also the tasting process. And okay, now I'll take you through the history. So basically, cashew tree, as we all know, it's not a gourd. It's come from the Europe. So not exactly also from the Europe, but Europe is not a tropical place. So we have to understand, we had the Portuguese over here, but before the Portuguese came, they thought that they were the only Europeans, that they were the only whites. But before them, there was someone else. Who were they? Okay, they were the Turks.
Turk.
Yeah, they are half and half. They fall in some parts of Europe, some parts of Arab. So the Turks were here. We have the Adil Shah's palace in Panjim. So why were they here? While they were here also, they did a lot of trading. Okay, they traded with us something that we Indians did not have much. Okay, and we lacked. So they were the horses. They gave us the horses. And they had very strong horses. They were breeding good horses. So they gave us the horses. And after when the Portuguese came in, Portuguese took over the place. So the Turks went away, and Portuguese was wondering what are they going to trade with us. So they had to impress us with something that we never had, because it's very difficult to impress Indians. Now they went to Brazil, and they saw that the land was full of opportunities. So anyone speaks Portuguese here? No, right? Hindi at least. So what do you call tomato? Tomato, right? Portuguese word. What do you call pineapple? Ananas. Portuguese word. Potato, batata.
Everything came from there, correct?
Everything came from there. Even your green chilies. Green chilies comes into our recipes, Indian recipes, like anything. And today, once you have added a green chili, okay, you cannot imagine that this without a green chili the next time, because it's very addictive. It has an addictive note to it. So they brought the green chilies, and also they brought the cashew. Okay, and so then we were people we are a culture that embraces literally anything, and we afterwards live with those things.
True.
And then you need to have that leap of imagination of what you're going to do next with that fruit, because interestingly, Brazil has not done anything about cashews. Okay, so it is only Goa and this place in the whole world that makes Feni from cashew. Okay, neither Kerala makes, neither Maharashtra, no other places, not even Africa, because it first from Brazil it went to Africa, then it came to Asia. Okay, and then India, Goa probably almost was the last one to receive it. So we gave them, interestingly, sugarcane. We gave Brazil the sugarcane, and they have made sugarcane as their national drink. Cachaça, if you have tasted their cocktail, Caipirinha, Cachaça, which is a sugarcane based cocktail or the liquor. So they have made that as a liquor. We have made cashew as our state drink. And we have sugarcane juices, they have cashew juices. So cross-cultural curiosity. So anyways, we took this fruit, we embraced this fruit, and we went a little step ahead. We used our imagination, and now I will take you through the process of how the whole cashew Feni is done. So please come up with over there. So this is the first starting place usually where you have all the cashews that are brought over here. But before that, to understand the whole thing about Feni, when exactly did we have a written record about Feni? How long can we date the Feni process? Because that's a very interesting part to understand the whole Feni. So we had a Dutch spy, and he was around about 14-year-old. A spy who was 14-year-old. He came over here. His name is Jan Hugen van Linschoten. Okay, he came through the Portuguese bishop. Okay, back then he got through his brother. He was a very smart chap. He knew a lot of languages, and he came basically observing everything what is happening in Goa. So he started noticing the culture. He started noticing how slaves were being traded. He noticed how all things were done, and he stayed over here for 5 years. Enough for a spy to capture everything what he wants to know. And one part of it that he captured was the Feni making process. And he noted down everything. So he would only go, he would look, he would ask the people, and he being white skin, he will get the information from the whites. So he understood how the whole process was done. He noted down, and interestingly, whatever was written, he was during the 1500s, but the whole process of whatever was written started getting recorded in 1700s onwards. So imagine till today we are following exactly what has been written back then till now. There is nothing that is changed. Okay, the traditional methods from 1700 that the state has written, this is the process stages of making Feni, has still been used. Nothing has been improvised, not changed. So that's with the dating of cashew Feni. Now, also to understand now the fruit. Okay, it's a tropical fruit. Okay, coming from Brazil. So you plant this fruit anywhere around the globe in a tropical region, it's going to flourish. Okay, so Goa is flourishing. So it requires a tropical fruit requires good amount of rain and good amount of heat. So then you will see now, right now at this season, it's flowering. Okay, so the heat is coming. Also, we have a little bit of cold weather, hence it will not bud out as a fruit. Okay, so it's only flowering. And very bad thing for us will be the rains, and it is raining. So last year we had like this, every month it started raining. So when it rains every month, what happens to the fruit? So now again you have to understand how do we get this fruit before it comes over here. Interestingly, one interesting fact is Goa is the only place, I don't know about the other places, but Goa is unique for that. We never pluck the cashew from the tree.
Fall down.
We allow it to fall down, right?
Yeah.
So why? Again, if anyone has done baking of cakes, well, have done, right? Baking of cakes and all. So when you bake a cake, suppose you're running a business, and you want consistency. Back then, we would say, all your recipe books would have a pinch of salt, a pinch of this, a pinch of that. So that is the mother's recipes, but today we have the European style, 10 grams, half this teaspoon, again teaspoons of that, but grams, everything measured in grams. You cannot shake those things. So why that? That is for the consistency of whatever you're doing, so that it doesn't change the taste. Now, when it comes to the cashews, whatever you're going to gather, now imagine you're going according to assumptions that you see a fruit and you assume that fruit is ripe. So we wait for the nature to decide when it's ripe, right? So right now the cashew is gone into a kind of a slip. Okay, so it's gathering a lot of sugar content for itself, which is a very important part of it. If you have the rains, like last year we had 90% of crop failure because it kept raining throughout the year. And what happens to the cashews? They either become very small and they fall off before time. You don't get a large cashew. You just get small ones, shrunken. And what happens is you will get more of water than the sweetness in the cashew. And sweetness is required for the yeast. You know, anything that requires fermentation will require good content of sugar. Otherwise, you just have the alcohol turning a very, like, you know, pathetic. We say, like, you know, pochit we say in Konkani, right? No taste, no taste. So then, yeah, so we gather the cashews. We use something called as the canto, a stick with a nail. So back then, they used to replace it with a porcupine's nail. So they used to take that, they put it in a bucket, and now again, interestingly, in no, they have started using the nail, the modern nails. Yeah, so that we have. We want a bend, right? We have 3, 4, 500 cashews that we have to pick up. We're not going to bend 500 times. You're going to have a backache, not going to come for the next week. So best is you pick up that way. Then another interesting fact is Goa. Okay, so let's say he is producing beer, you are producing whiskeys, and they are producing some other drinks. Okay, vodkas and all, gin and all. So you all are from different states, and your government is going to tax you, right? They don't want to spare it. They are going to get some money from that. So you're producing beers, whiskey, and then gin, vodka. You're going to be taxed on the amount of alcohol you're producing, right? But Feni does not get taxed that way.
Oh, because it's not good. Go on.
Yeah. So what happens is the cashew industry gets taxed on the number of trees that you have.
Oh.
So now I'll explain that part also. It's very interesting. Now let's say, for example, remind me about this trees part also. Okay. So now when you have auction that you go for, okay. No person basically just has the whole hill for himself. So some people will not buy the hill, right? So the whole land goes into auction, and you have people sitting down auctioning, saying that okay, he is going for 3 lakhs, someone is going for 4 lakhs, and then done. Now someone has won the auction. Now what happens is he is going to fight for that amount of cashew. So we over here, we don't concentrate on the cashew nuts, although it also has a very good market. We focus more on the Feni. Okay, we give the cashew nuts to the ladies whoever come over here to work. They make some money, but we focus on the Feni. Now, so let's say you have the land, okay, and now coming to the breeze part, they place that stone. Once they place that stone, initially you'll get with the press still the brown juice coming out, but when it gives a slow press, you have the nero that flows out, the fresh juice of the cashew. So it's kind of like your white cloudy limbu soda kind of a thing, that begins to flow out. And you have the locals who comes with their bottles, and they yes, it just has a shelf life of 1 day. So you store it in your fridge, or you just put it into ice and serve chilled. So it tastes very good. And they say that if you have enough of this juice, so basically you're stomping almost every day, but if you have enough during the summers, you're strong enough and your immune system is good enough for the rainy season. Okay, so if you're going out into the fields, you can be sure that you can go without a raincoat and you'll not catch a cold, because your body has gathered enough of those cashews and it has enough of heat as well. So again, a tropical fruit that's balancing your body temperature. So that's done, and then all the ladies basically they take this juice and they go and they put it right into those pots that you can see. So now let's gather all around the pot. So you can see some of these pots are broken. They weren't that way just some few months back, 2 months back. What happened was a very unfortunate incident. Tree that was right over there, it had 368 degrees that it would go, but it just wanted to taste the Feni, I guess, the fermented juice, and it fell. Now this is quite an unfortunate thing for us, because these pots are about close to 70 to 80 years old. Okay, and today it's very difficult. Back then we had 46 clans that were able to make these pots. Today we have none.
possible? Do people still make it weird?
Exactly. So today there's literally no one. We just have one man. His name is John. So he comes from that potter's family, but he has only assisted his father. He has not made a pot. So if you go on YouTube or you go on Google and you research how these pots are being done, it's a very painstaking process. So usually you require clay, right? Where would you go to find the clays? Usually river bank. So this is one of the cultures that do not go to the river bank. Yeah. So they go to the hillside. They go to the hillside. Why? Because when you go and get that mud, when you get those stones and mud and you crush it, it has a lot of rich iron content and minerals. If you go to the river bank, you get a lot of washed out minerals already. Okay, so then they make it through the open furnace system, and yeah, then they make the pots. So now interestingly have a signature on them. Okay, so every painter signs their thing, right? Their paintings. So their signatures are like this marks. They have a palm leaf kind of a mark.
Why is it hole?
Yeah. So basically the hole is there. So before speaking about the hole, I'll ask you another question. Why are the pots underground? Okay, temperature. Good. What else can you guess?
Fermentation is fast.
Expansion, while fermentation, when it expands, it can withstand
When it?
pressure. The fermentation pressure, it can hold the pressure.
Exactly. So see, you can see how thin these pots are.
Yeah.
Okay. So despite the tree falling on these pots, see the ground gave these pots the strength to still have that oval shape. If the tree had fallen on that pot, you would not recognize whether that was a pot or was some tiles or what it was. Okay, you just feel that it was some pieces of stone. But despite it fell on this one, it gave it, the mud gives it the strength to hold together. So you have to understand, when fermentation takes place, fermentation basically everything turns into ethanol, and that has a lot of carbon, CO2. Okay, so it's almost like a soda bottle waiting to explode. So if you leave this pot outside over here just like this, next morning when you would come, you would find a broken pot with all the fermented juice on the floor. So you would kind of lose it. Now these pots were actually placed where you all were standing before. So just because people would kind of have their legs go inside, you know, even some people as tall as where I'm standing, okay, and they had to be very thin. Now tall and thin. Now if you see these pots, again they are made with their hands. So basically my length of my arm is not that big as theirs. So they had to almost be like 7 feet back then. And 200-300 years back, we had people who were that tall. Okay, so you would find those people around. Their genes were there. So if I had explained to you, now this is not the same pot, but this is this was used for distillation back then. But now, when they would make the pots, these pots were not usually made from the ground. It was at a raised height. Okay, so imagine if it was at a raised height for me, my arm would not reach completely. Okay, so they had to be tall. They could use some stool, but they felt that the height was actually a plus point for them. So what happens is, it neither had a spinning table. Okay, so they had to move around it. Okay, they had to move around the whole pot. Now, pots are all round in shape, right? So now here comes being thin. So if you were fat and you were making a pot, your tummy would come in between. So while you're making the pot, you kind of have a flat spot. So these people, while they kept making pots, they kind of had that hunch. Okay, their body started taking the shape of their pots. And being so cultural specific, being so very high demands on the physical characteristics, it kind of started dying off. So our Goan people also thought like, okay, this is a very difficult occupation to take on. They either became taxi drivers, they either went abroad, they started working in the hotels, and this kind of died off over the years. And so today we just people just use the blue plastic jars, okay, or your stainless steel. pot. Yeah. And so, leaving this aside, we have a master distiller who is also an interesting part of this whole story. So, everyone who makes the cashew Feni, there's always one smart person. Okay, so we have this guy called Anton who comes in this place and he distills the cashew Feni. So he sits over here and he smokes some bidis. He's smoking some bidis and he's sitting near the pots. And one of our guy one day just came and asked him, because he's sitting very close over here. He's almost sitting here up. And what are you doing? He was curious. What are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm listening. Listening to what? He's listening to the fizz of the sound of this, of the fermentation, because that tells him how much more time is required for it to go over there for the distillation. So at the start, when you just put it, there's no much sound, but as the night passes by, it has a louder sound, and as the days are coming close, it kind of starts fading away. So he begins to understand. See, now we are living in the 21st century. You have to understand, we have all our mobiles, touchpad, buttons, remotes, everything, but yet you cannot see any of those things over here. We are depending completely upon the nature and our senses. Okay, so now he's a guy who's very old, in his 78. So we do not know how old is he. Back then they did not keep records of their age, so he's pretty old. And this is basically their grandmother's recipes, exactly that has been handed down. Now, here is where the whole fun takes place. So this is a copper vessel. Copper because it's good conductor of heat. Okay. And right from a matchstick, right from lighting, we do not use any lighters. We just use a matchstick. You can use a lighter, but we use matchstick.
But you still use wood fire.
Wood fire.
Don't use
No.
gas.
No. It will consume way too much of money. Yeah, because again, surely we say about gas, but see, what happens is you have to understand. We find using sticks or wood as a problem, because why? Yeah, through the gas we can control the fire. Okay, so back then the ladies who used to do the cooking, much of the cooking, they had a great sense of how to maintain fire. Okay, so the noble class families, they had some parts of their house that was reserved for cooking larger things outside. So they would boil waters outside. They would not use all those gas systems back then. Gas has come recently, all the cylinders, but they know exactly which wood to get, how fat is those wood, which wood will burn faster, which wood will burn brighter. Okay, so now these ones will last longer. Okay, these ones will last longer. They're jackfruit tree kind of wood, and you can get any other woods, but then again, if you're getting, I do not have the sense of which woods to put, but usually this works the best. So now they light up the fire. You have to observe. So Anton sits over there and he observes the fire. If it's going bright, you will tell someone, go and make it a little lighter. Okay, and they put the fermented juice over here. Now it's a two-stage process, right? So you get on your first stage one liquor, and then in another stage you get your second liquor. So this is a pot. Okay, so if you want to come and just check how heavy it is.
Oh, the top earthen pot.
Yeah, don't break it.
Let me try.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's too heavy.
Yeah.
It's sand inside.
Correct, it has some sand. So this sand is not the sea sand, again from the hillside. Why?
The juice goes in here.
Yeah, the fermented juice goes in here.
And there is this pot with sand.
Yeah.
It's quite heavy.
It's quite heavy, yeah. So they place this pot and then they seal this part with this clay. Okay, clay made from the ant hill mud. So they have to crush it, make it very fine. Because it has to be fine, because if it's fat, it will start peeling off. Okay, so then they mix it with water, and with the cloth, yeah, they start sealing this place. Kusan kid is there. So yeah, So basically they seal this part off, not that it can hold it, but so that the fumes do not escape of the alcohol, not so that it remains pressed. Now for it to remain pressed, they keep this stick and they put this rope above it, and so it gets pressed. Now if you do not do this part, over a period of time, this will just explode like a rocket. Okay, so it has happened once, and there was a whole huge hole on the roof, and then that was another problem to fix it. So after that, you have this hard bamboo. I also don't know from where they get this bamboos. It's not the shallow bamboos that you usually find popping up in places, but they have this hard bamboos. Again, this is on this side, this is on that smaller on this side. And what they do is they take a hot rod iron and they put it inside so that it gives a hole, basically. Because this stick doesn't have a hole. You have to make a hole. Okay? So it's hard one, right? So once it is placed over here, then you have a small copper pipe that comes out and goes for about 15 feet deep inside. No.
No,
It's just
round.
rolls, yeah. It's kind of a spinning thing. And then you have all water over here. So basically your fumes rises up, goes inside, cools over there, condenses basically your H and the science, and it comes out through one pipe over here and goes into one pot, and it just falls like drops. So if you see over here, there's a pipe.
That is the thing.
No, so that's the first part is called the urak.
Arak, we call it as.
Yeah, arak. Arak.
Yeah.
So you have all that urak or arak coming out, which is about 15 to 20% of alcohol content. Okay. Then what we do is we put back the whole juice, the urak, with a little percent of the fermented juice. Okay, together with the urak. And then the first time when we are distilling it, it takes about 6 hours. Okay, 5 to 6 hours. And then when we are distilling the second time, that's the Feni, it takes about 9 hours. 8 to 9 hours. Now, I could do it faster, but what happens if I am doing it faster? You have to understand the science of distilling any alcohol. Water evaporates at what temperature? 100. Alcohol?
200 or something like that.
No, alcohol much lower. So at 78. 78.37 something.
Okay, it doesn't freeze us, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, it comes up. So if the fire is too strong, we have too much of alcohol that goes. Okay, gets condensed. Some. So yeah, coming back to the story. So basically, Anton is watching all of these things happening. Anton is the master distiller again. And again, alcohol evaporates at fire. What will happen is, and I have seen that, you have the alcohol just pouring out like anything. Okay. So what happens is, you will get high content of alcohol, and I'm kind of serving you just poison.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so when you have to also understand cashew Feni. It's an alcohol that we do not add or dilute with any water. It's the water from the cashew. So when you have the Scottish whiskey, okay, the whiskey is diluted with the Scottish water.
Okay.
The water that is there near their river banks or near their spring area. So usually they'd have a factory near a spring. Okay, there is a lot of good water flowing, and from places to places, each water kind of tastes different.
Correct.
So again, that's why that peculiar taste in that brand. So now when you have cashew, it's completely distilled with its own drinking strength. Okay, so what happens is, when now here comes the intelligence of Anton. Okay, when he is distilling the whole thing, once the Fenis come out, now we have to understand what is the percent of alcohol content, right? So what he does is, basically he takes the Feni and he begins to pour it up and down. Okay, he pulls it up and down, and he's finding for some bubbles. Okay, which we call it as pearls. Okay, so through these traditional means and methods that he has followed, now to an untrained person like me, he is waiting, he's checking for these bubbles, but to the experienced and trained person like him over the years, he's trying to find a pearl that is going to burst for about 2 seconds. And when he finds that pearl, that tells him that this is 42.8% of alcohol. Okay, again, there's no measuring tool over here, but how did we come to know that that was 42.8? We went and measured, we went and checked it. So for a naked eye, it's not going to have a written thing over there, oh, this is 42.8. So he's so trained in getting all this consistency because he has been following his methods. Okay, so what happens is, suppose your mother is cooking, okay, your mother is cooking at home, and suddenly your dad says, okay, you take a break in between the cooking. So what will happen is the food will start changing its taste, peculiarity. The method that she was following is going to be changed by your dad. Okay, so what happens is also the time factor that she had in mind, she knows exactly at what time to naturally, instinctively go and do whatever errands that she's doing while she's cooking. So over here, Anton follows that same method. No one disturbs him when he's doing his whole process. He has everything going on. Where the sun has reached, how the labors, how much time that they are taking to come. When are they going to come with the first bucket, second bucket? When are they going to put the stuff over there? When they get it over here, looking at the fire, observing everything. And another very interesting thing that he does also, in all of this, he keeps a time count with the number of BDs that he smokes. Very interesting, but that's one method that he has been following, and also he has never tasted Feni. Okay, very interesting. Yeah, so he has to maintain the consistency. See, every time he's going to make Feni, he's not going to taste it. He's not going to taste it. Occupational hazard. You don't go to you don't go for bartending and you start drinking over there, right? You don't drink all the cocktails. You may just put a straw and you may take a sip, and you see, okay, this is fine. But over the period of time, you know that is fine because you have been following that method, and you know that the accuracy is perfect. So if he follows those methods, he knows that his method is going to give a sure batch of 42.8% of alcohol. Now we've got the GI, geographical indicator, okay, for Goa, and it's, I think so, the only state in whole of India that has.
Do you like it, Michu?
She's good for you. She's fine. You get this shot. See, this is a that fish are fighting. Chances are only other 100. Dada's taking 3 bags.
So if anyone wants to give you a camera. Feni!
You run a notice page or something?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I'll share the page.
Yeah.
Introduce to you the platter. So we have apricots, figs, okay, then til laddu, your pinag, Okay, made with roasted rice, jaggery, and coconut. We have the chickpeas, we have the dosh, perad, guava cheese basically. You have your cheese. The nut side we have the ground nuts. We have the almonds, cashew nuts, the sneakers. And then the spices we have the capsicum, green chilies, green pepper. And in the fresh fruits we have guava. You have your Malta orange, you have your green apple, and you have your sweet lime. In the sandwiches, we have basically for you to fill up your stomachs. We have the veg sandwich, we have the chutney sandwich, which is part of the tastings. We have the sannas, again part of the tastings. We have your sausage bread. Over here we have your chicken club sandwich. We have your fish rissoles, chicken cutlets, and chicken cutlets. So now let's start with the thing. Before I start, so I'll just explain to you what we are going to do over here. So after he has poured the Feni, so there are certain experiments that we are going to do. First thing, to understand how good you all are. Okay. Second thing, when you all are going to smell, usually people come and say that they don't like the smell of Feni. Yeah.
Good for your skin.
Clip your nose, and take a small sip of Feni.
This one.
Okay, swirl it in your mouth. See, a taste has those 5 senses, right? Sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. So I've cut off one of your sense, your nose sense. So now it basically tasted like any of your other spirits, your gin or your vodka. So usually people think that Feni is bad because of the smell. So association with the smell is actually wrong. So but then when you clip your nose, it has just gone down and as a normal drink. So now, what other taste you had? What other taste you had?
Little pungent.
Now look at the platter and just think what would you pair. I will not tell you to pick up, but think what would you pair. What would you say would pair with that? Or just take the red apples, green apples, the sweet limes, and the orange.
Oh my god.
Red.
One more red apple.
Yes.
All have to okay, good. So now what I want you to do is take a large bite of the red apple. Take a large bite and a very tiny sip of the cashew. Okay, tiny sip. Mix it in your mouth. So now we are understanding. Is it pairing? Is it complementing? Is it nullifying? Or is it worse? When you do pair had that guava, then the Feni would taste well. So now this is the kind of the sweetness is there in it, and the taste of the guava is there. So the Feni is getting sharpened. So anything that you put into your dishes, recipes, anything sweet will always enhance the taste. So now with that, just have a sip of water, and now we'll have one cocktail poured for it. So the remaining good strong immune system. Yeah. No.
Yes, is done. Yeah, we had baby last night again from the local place.
Oh, is it?
I knocked out for it.
Did you go to the seaside or something?
No.
We are going to see.
This is a Feni based cocktail called Peru Miru.
Oh.
Yeah, so you can have it.
Guava, pepper,
Chili, yeah.
Chilies, something a bit
pepper.
Yeah,
spicy.
chili.
And
So now, if you want to serve yourself with some snacks, you can serve, but you can go ahead with the club sandwiches, the veg sandwich, veg sandwich, or this chicken.
this is a coconut one.
This is coconut kind, right?
So don't taste it.
Don't taste it. Let he'll tell his story and then you eat.
So yeah, so you have to understand the whole process of coconut as well. Yeah.
Still there.
Yeah. So most of this platter which you all are having, it's coming from this very famous the Goan kitchen. So it's specially designed by them. So we are maintaining it with them because of the recipes that they use. So to be consistent with the tastings. So now let me explain to you the coconut Feni. Okay, again the same way, same method that it's distilled with the two stage. Your first stage, which is the urak, we call it the molo. Okay, it's not
What they
much
call it?
molo.
Moro.
Yeah, it's whitish, whitish. That's why molo. Then you have your second phase, which is the coconut Feni. Okay, and so this is basically just 40% of alcohol content. So cashew is a little stronger with 42.8, and this has a little subtle taste. So to understand the coconut Feni, you have to get the toddy. Okay, so it's a little painstaking process. Cashews, you and I can go and collect. Toddy making, you and I cannot climb the tree. Okay, you require that skill. So what happens is, if you look at the coconut tree on top, so I don't know if you can, or anyone would able to see the fresh. I've shown you over there at this. There was a kind of a cone kind of a shape. So now if you can see all the spikes that is spiked out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the spikes are basically, it's come out of its shell
Okay.
and they have turned into coconuts.
Yeah.
Okay. So before it comes out, you have to kind of tie it and then slit it up and then keep tapping on it. So hence they are called toddy tappers. So they go and they tap and they get all the coconut sap, the toddy, and they collect it over the night. And those trees usually do not give coconuts.
Coconuts, yeah.
Okay. So then it's fermented for some time. If it's fermented for too much time, it will turn into vinegar. So you have to also be very careful of the fermenting time, the smell, everything, the taste of it, and then they pour it into the vessel for distilling it. Now, I'll just request you take a smell of the coconut. What are the notes that
Happening.
What are the notes you are smelling?
Vinegar.
Okay.
Yeah, it reminds me of like coconut vinegar.
Coconut, okay.
Because we've been exposed to it.
Okay. So now, make some
Fruity also.
space on your plates, and over here we are going to pair it with. You can take the sannas.
Is it jaggery inside?
Yeah, yeah. Usually sannas are without this jaggery. Pair it with a coconut Feni.
Sana yum. Oh wow.
So most of back in the days, Portuguese and all, when they had come, most of them had used jaggery into If you want to sweeten now, some families are turning back into that system. Okay, even into their coffees.
It's like something in it.
Yeah.
Regular one what we eat at
So usually some other states.
Not piece. Beginning. Banana. No, it is not.
The one sandwich.
The smokiness is like enhanced. It's really nice.
And I can taste both distinctly. Hope also and the thing.
So what you have to do is, you take it and you make it into a paste in your mouth. This pairing will try to say, and your understanding will try to say whether they made a good choice or a bad one. They made a
Very good choice.
They had no choice anymore.
Cashew nuts and the cashews put together.
Exactly.
Cashew one, I'll give you.
So interestingly, I did not pair it with the cashews.
This is coconut Feni, no?
Yeah. So coconut is a very subtle taste. It has a notes of sweet, but then yeah. So now we have a cocktail coming, which is called patodiyo.
Oh.
What is that actually?
Even y'all, it's made in Kerala.
Right.
Turmeric leaves are steamed with a rice paste and jaggery.
Ah.
It's called something else in Kerala.
Oh yeah, I know that thing makes rice.
Steamed.
Yeah, rice flour, jaggery, and they roll it in jackfruit leaves, steam it,
Yeah, yeah.
kumblapam. Then
You
it,
can go here. Taste it.
Taste it.
Yeah.
awesome. Hey,
Very nice.
So now the last drink that we are going to try
Acha, okay.
So this one is distilled along with coconut. So you have the Indian sarsaparilla plant, okay, that grows about this height, okay, above the ground, but it has its roots going for about 7 feet deep. It's a medicinal plant which people usually drink it as a cooling kind of a drink, like a sharbat. And over here, in Goans they always say pineapple of the nannari. So now you can just smell and you can try to understand what smell are you getting, what notes are just coming.
Like a
Very
seed.
early.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Kalsa, you want a laddu? But the only thing we ensure this stock through the year is steak and sausages.
This one.
Because in our village we get the best.
Yeah, so that's the next pairing. So chiki.
Oh.
The caramel.
Why the fishes are not biting me? No, I'm just confused why the fish is not coming to me.
So now we have the last item. Sexy. Feni. Sorry. You can put it.
Nasa, look at all the fishes here.
So many fishes!
Oh my god.
Oh my god! What is this? So many fishes!
Yeah, I'm coming behind you. Go. Whoa! Come back. Come back.
Mind and many things over here. Without him, we fall short of labels and all. So one phone call and he gets everything done.
We need one guy.
Yeah. So our boss entirely depends on him. So
This is Ahmad.
Ahmed.
This was the person you were talking.
He's getting.
Hi.
Yeah, so he's already started distilling coconut paint.
Lovely.
Yeah, because coconut paint you get the toddy throughout the year. Yeah, Beko de Garrafão, basically an alleyway of bottles, large bottles. So you must have seen large garrafões in your homes. Yeah. So they were all brought by the Portuguese through the ships. And if you understand how the Portuguese came, it's very difficult to get bottles. Probably some bottles must be still lying in the ocean, okay, with the ships that have sunk. So understanding today the value of these bottles being so old, some of them are about 250 to 300 to 400 years old. Okay, we understand the age knowing on the structure. Okay, so some will be a little bit uneven. Okay, some will be very well designed. And that's how you understand through the period of time how they have made those bottles. So our owner has gone through various families and gathered, because he has a craze for gathering all these garrafões. Okay, so garraf, which you call a small bottle, garrafões you call the large bottles. And so he has made a large collection, and he by far has the largest collection over here in Goa. And so welcome to Beko de Garrafão.
Oh. ഹായ്, അപ്പോൾ നമ്മളങ്ങനെ ഗോവയിലെ ഡിസ്റ്റിലറി കംപ്ലീറ്റ് കണ്ടു കഴിഞ്ഞിരിക്കുകയാണ്. ഇപ്പോൾ നമ്മളുള്ളത് അവരെ ഏറ്റവും സ്പെസിഫിക് ആയിട്ടുള്ള സ്ഥലത്താണ്. അതായത് ഇവിടുത്തെ ഏറ്റവും ആൻറ്റിക് സാധനങ്ങളുള്ളൊരു സ്ഥലത്താണ് നമ്മളുള്ളത്. അതായത് ഇവരുടെ ഒരുപാട് ആൻറ്റിക് കളക്ഷൻസ്, ഇത് ഒരുപാട് 300 to 400 years, right? This is more than 300 to 400 years old antique collections. All right, we have Tyson with us. Tyson was explaining us about all the distillery methods. And so Tyson, can you please explain us what is this collections and all?
So basically, we had the Portuguese who stayed over here for about 450 years back then, and
I'll take.
Portuguese that came over here in the 1500s, and they stayed over here for about 450 years with us. And if you see all these garafons, they are about 400 to that old, and they brought it on their ships. So when they were trading with us, they used a lot of they brought wines, they brought oil, they brought medicine, and they took away spices from Goa in India large. And some of these bottles are shaped differently. Some have they used to store again wines. The greener ones are for the ones that serve a little vinegary purpose. So some things that required a different kind of a cooling method, different kind of storing methods. The large ones, because they back then they wanted to store a large content. Okay, so storing wine in a larger bottle would make sense, because they would like to ferment those stuff together. So you wouldn't store wine in smaller batches, you store wine in a larger batch, so then it would have a consistency of taste. So some of them have a unique mold. So this has 1, 2 and 3 molds. If you can see the shape. So there's one shape here. So this and this would be molded together along with this. And some just have only 2 molds.
Yeah, 2 more, I could see.
So the other one that is right over there.
Yeah, I saw that. Could you please let me know what is the unique in that?
So basically, if you can see the shape, it's kind of uneven, although it's round. But this is the oldest one we have. So they have cut over here while it was getting molded, and basically it's blowing from your mouth the air, and it kind of takes the shape. So it's just one shape which is not molded together.
Oh, so this is made by blowing air by mouth,
Yeah, by mouth.
and that's how the shape is acquired.
Exactly. So Hansel, our owner, has basically collected from various families, whoever had it in their house, and has placed it over here. So maybe still, if he wants to gather more, he will get more of it. Okay, so they have stopped making this way, or one size one. Then usually then they start molding it into 3 shapes. Some are 2, some are 3. That one has 3. 1, 2, 3. So then it's easy to mold them together.
This is what came is outside the glass bottle.
So yeah, so some of them usually came there just so that they can lift it up that way. So yeah, so that it doesn't break. Sometimes some people have little mischievous storage for wood, storage, then it became chicken farm, cow shed, everything it became, and now it's converted into this place. Yeah, so we are
So please feel free to contact
Tyson.
Tyson. Tyson, your number please.
Yes. So 9762 331 336.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.